Hey guys, in this video I wanted to go over our Mythic 15 clear for Neltharion's Lair. I didn't stream it, so I just made a separate YouTube video for it. I guess I'll just go over the whole thing. So for reference, compared to a Mythic 0, this has 194% more health and damage. It's also bolstering, overflowing, tyrannical. Tyrannical is more boss damage and HP. Bolstering is whenever a mob nearby when a mob dies in combat, all the nearby mobs also get HP and damage buff in its stacks, which is aids for chain pulling 100,000 mobs and for AoEing things unevenly. Also, overflowing puts an absorb shield whenever there's any overhealing done that has to be healed through. So here first we mind controlled the big elite because everything else around it is shitty trash mobs. There's an angel, and we tried to pull all those. I missed one of the mobs, unfortunately, ahead that I should have pulled. And this is mostly just to AoE all this down real quick, and then because the Scorpion is mind controlled, it won't get any bolstering stacks. So we just bring him over here. The plan was to grab these 4 elites plus the mind controlled Scorpion, have 5 elites, but we ended up with the extra little crawler, and that one I aggroed too. So with this dungeon in general, it's not so. I mean, it's fairly difficult, obviously, but it wasn't like ridiculous. The hard part was creating more risk through riskier pulls, pulling a bunch of things, doing stuff like this, because those things will aggro when we move forward. I tried to pull them in, so that they would all die close to the same time here, because they have significantly less HP than the elites here. But, like I said, it's mostly with just trying to save as much time as possible, and outside of the first boss, I would say the instance isn't that difficult on Tyrannical. I mean, all the bosses, you can definitely wipe on any of the bosses for sure. It's just, compared to some of the other bosses you can get on Tyrannical, none of these are too threatening, I would say, in comparison. So here we're just trying to AoE everything down. Those lurkers, whenever they start to burrow, if you CC them or do anything, they just become immune, and it sucks. So we tried not to CC too much. And here I just pull this guy, skip that pull because it's on the right because it's super aids. Grab everything right here, and we're going to AoE it down. Unfortunately, we got an extra crawler, so actually we've probably lost a few seconds here. Even up to this point, just because the crawlers weren't pulled in on the exact pulls every single time. But here, we're just going to AoE everything down, and we're going to have foul jump off and do the boss skip a little bit. Not really a boss skip, it just saves time to start the RP. And so once she jumps, I tried to minimize the amount of damage I take with like shockwave, demo shout, and just keeping my ignore pain up as best as I can. I guess I can talk a little bit about the comp here. We're using a monk, a shadow priest, and a mage. We needed some significant amount of add AoE and for this boss, because you definitely need a comp that's good for killing the little ads he spawns, because whenever he does his rock smash shatter thingy, its damage is increased for how many skitters are up. So you need a monk is quite good for that, as you can see. Comes over here and does his little kick thing. I don't even know what monks do, honestly. It's whatever. But between the monk and the mage, they pretty much got it on lockdown. I just try to taunt and pick them up. So these little clouds on the ground actually do 500k per tick, so it's pretty important not to stand in them or not to get knocked back into them. As you can see, the smash did quite a bit of damage here. So this is mostly just you're gonna need a good healer, and you're gonna need a tank that doesn't take that much damage. So it's pretty difficult on not only the tank survivability but also the group. As you can see here, Shatter is going to do quite a bit of damage. Not quite one shot. If there's 3 skitters up, it's definitely going to one shot a few people, if not everybody other than the tank. This fight's also kind of nice for the warrior because you get so many victory rushes if you're killing the ads. I don't even know if I get that many, honestly. But we chose to time warp here, and I'm actually wondering why I haven't potted yet, but that's fine. We're just waiting. We also had our Shadow Priest go surrender for, I think he uses it on this boss and the third boss, Neuraxis. So because it's tyrannical, these fights are going to take quite a lot of time. I think all the bosses are at least 3:30. Summer's, like second boss guy is like 5 minutes almost, I think, for something. But this isn't probably the most optimal comp, but I don't think Neltharion's is the most punishing. It's probably one of the easiest Mythic 15s you can get, and that's kind of unfortunate because just to get up to a 15 key that process was actually longer than actually clearing this dungeon, obviously. Just trying to RNG out keys, it reminded us a lot like Diablo 3. It's just like you can't even play the game to an extent, right? In comparison, because doing like an NL or an I or something is going to be 100 times easier than doing, I don't know, Halls of Valor, which is, you get Halls of Valor even on 11. It's probably harder than this dungeon, maybe. But it's brutal. We actually tried one. But, yeah, still fighting boss man. I actually could have saved us a couple of seconds here. I didn't pot twice. Normally I would. Our monk man died. Which does happen once in a while. Unfortunately, we didn't run any battle reses for this. And then, because he's surrender here, he dies at the end, and he can just release on that boss and spawn on the other side of this. Not that it's that useful, but he can re-food buff without it being, any time loss. And as you can see, we're going to be using a shit ton of... We pre-pot like almost everything we can. There we go. So here we think we mind control the Pelter, right? Yeah, pretty sure. So we mind control this Pelter, and then we're fighting two breakers, which is pretty risky because that avalanche, you can actually sidestep it. But if two avalanches like there go off on the same time, and there's a pretty high chance for someone to die, and they actually both got hit by it. But we mind control the Pelter so it doesn't get bolsters. So we kill this mob here because just pulling one mob at a time, you're not going to save time. So we had to take the risk of pulling the two breakers. And we had run this, I don't know how many times. We probably missed it by like somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds, like 4 or 5 times before this point. So we were just trying to, take some extra risks to save more time. And that's kind of what this dungeon felt like. I don't know how many times we actually had to do this to complete it, but it did take several hours. So here I'm just waiting for that Pelter to die before I pull. So I'm going to grab this breaker for percentage, and then these two mobs right here. Not sure if I pull the drummer. Normally I would, but I do that later because he has significantly less health than these 3 mobs. So this pull's not that bad, actually. It's just the breaker's really the only threat, and he shouldn't kill anybody because he's basically the only one doing the damage in the first place. So right now I probably should have pulled the drummer. I think he has like 15, 16 million HP. I think we just end up killing him solo. This is just like after you do this for 6, 7, 8 hours or whatever, however long this was in. You forget a couple things once in a while. And that is kind of the thing, it's like wear and tear a little bit. With this dungeon for us, we kept forgetting, whether it be me or whoever else once in a while. I think here we just sheep one. The mind controls were breaking. I think I'd tell him the mind control. Like, we'd pull this, and for some reason the mind control would break like 2 seconds in. We never understood why. I don't know if it was like the Felter hitting him or what. But mind control is like a 3-minute cooldown, I think, so. I think I yell at him here to mind control anyway, and it works. And so this thing doesn't get bolstered, and we save a couple extra seconds here where we weren't saving before. I'm running away because the Pelter, I don't want him to disengage again later into that other pack, because that's basically a wipe at that point. Well, we're going to lose too much time from the bolstered other pack. We're just waiting. The timing is actually really good because you can't cancel the mind control. You just have to wait on it. Not that I know of, at least, or we know of. But because this isn't fortified week and it's the tyrannical week, the trash wasn't too bad. The next couple pulls aren't that bad either. These things just need CC'd. The Shapers can kill people if they're not interrupted, like silenced and stunned once in a while. If they chain their stone bolt on like two people, two or three, 2 or 3 times in a row, then there's a good chance they'll die. Because it still does. I don't know how much exactly. Yeah, almost a half of someone's HP. Wish there was more we could pull on this one, but I think pulling all four, we never really tried it, is too risky. It's mostly because there's 2 Shapers. Like if I were to pull the big guy in the Shaper Pat, it'd be too risky, because 2 casting mobs and trying to interrupt both at the same time, while dodging Avalanche too, so I think we never even bothered to try it. So you gotta kind of know where the risks come in, right? These guys have Avalanche, the Shapers have the Stone Bolt, those are really threatening things. I mean, Foul almost started there, so it's just that kind of RNG burst I can do, and sometimes we lose someone because of it throughout these runs. Cute Quaz, that's his potion pre-pot macro thingy or whatever. These Vile Shard Hulks, after they cast Fracture, the tank knockback, they can instantly be stunned. They should be stunned because they're going to cast the Razor Shards, which are Piercing Shards, sorry, which does like a retarded amount of damage. But if you stun or like disorient or something right before or right after the Fracture, then they won't cast it, so that helps a lot. I think we mind control here. Pretty sure. Yeah, he's casting it. Again, fighting 2 Pelters at the same time, there's a lot of RNG risk to losing someone, and the bolstering. I think we get 1 bolster here. It's a little too hard to kill both of these at the same time before the mind control ends. Maybe if we had pre-potted here instead of the previous pull, it'd be fair, yeah. It's actually pretty close. I wouldn't say the comp is. I honestly can't say. Like, the comp isn't too important as long as you can kill the first boss. Then it's just about maximizing your damage, or having potential little skips. Like, we weren't mind controlling at first, but it seemed to actually save us a fair amount of time. It's just some shitter pull. Probably could just like kill a Shaper. I don't know. Before the Geode dies, with the because it bolsters it so fast. I guess it'd be annoying for the casters to keep moving though. So this boss coming up is super fucking annoying because he's gonna go down. He's gonna have many underground phases. I think like 4 or something stupid. We could use Lust here. I think we do. Yeah. So from, when we pulled the first boss to this point, it's already been 10 minutes, just barely, right? I think we use it right after he comes up, because if we used Lust right here on pulled, then, he burrows before, Lust is even close to ending. We did wipe here once because I died. He does hit pretty hard. The what's it called, Sunder attack or whatever, his little tank ability does a lot of damage, and actually I think it's nature damage. Can't even like block it. You just have to have in my case, just a decent ignore pain bubble ready, or be completely topped. We just had everybody make sure we all follow the bellowing idols just to be extra safe. So there we lost. I pot. Pretty sure everybody pots there. I think at the end of this fight, we're only like 15% off from skipping a whole burrow phase, which would have been pretty beneficial. So if like, I don't know, for example, we had a class in here that was specifically better at DPS for this boss that could make up that percentage, might have been worth bringing. But this was actually kind of like the first group we actually really tried it on. We got the 15 key the night before, and then we just tried it for like, we did one run of it just to get a feel. But this was the first group setup we ended up using for this, and we felt we could do it. So we just stuck with it. It didn't seem too unreasonable compared to some of the other dungeons we had tried. I like following, just out of like habit. Yeah, this fight's super boring. Yeah, right there, and dip pretty low, like 600k or something. And this really sucks for the priest overflowing. Sometimes she would heal me for like, I don't know, 5 million or something. It puts like a 2 or 3 million absorb bubble on me, and it's just really aids. I don't even know how it is for other healers, but I'm pretty sure they don't even have to worry about overflowing. Not nearly as much, at least. Yeah, so we'll see here. I think the boss is like 15%. This was our fastest kill on this guy of every single time we did it. But yeah, skipping this whole phase here would have been pretty significant time save. Wow, these down. I'm like actually looking at the time. I think it's actually like a 30-second loss every time he goes down. So yeah, it's definitely 30 seconds is a lot whenever you're trying to make as much time as you can. Yeah, about almost 30 seconds probably. So the next pull we skip, and then we're just going to kill the 4 basilisk in the water. And this isn't, we're probably not even like 100% optimized, but we are trying pretty hard. I can tell you that at least. And there might have been like one mob we could have skipped, or a better pull here or there. We were fine tuning every couple runs. If we felt like saving 10 seconds somewhere, potentially we definitely took the risk. These things actually hit pretty hard, so have to be fairly careful. That's why I'm backing up, just in case I need to kite slowly. But really, none of the bosses are that hard. It's just time skips. Always more time skips, just saving a little bit of time. We thought about pulling these two together. We never tried it, but there's 2 grub masters and a caster. We felt like it was too risky. So we just said, okay, we'll just forget about that and try to kill the Grubmaster before he summons two little worms, because they're annoying to switch to. Obviously, every time they make a worm, we're going to lose more time. So doing this over the course of like 6-7 hours, as you can see, we're pretty much potting non-stop. I think we went through like 250 potions in the past 2 days. Well, just for this dungeon alone, it was probably like 150 before we actually killed it. And I actually feel like Fortified, like so long as you can do the Pelter packs and the Scorpion packs at the end of the dungeon, I feel like Fortified's probably easier on your time. There might be more risk, obviously, on the trash pulls. Obviously, the bosses would all be really, really easy, but I do feel like Fortified would probably be easier than this, just because of kind of like some of the synergy with the second boss specifically. You know, having him tyrannical means he's always going to burrow an extra time at the very least, if not 2 more times. So here we try to not AoE and just kill the Grubmaster and then kill the worm when he makes it. Because if you AoE all that stuff down, which we accidentally did one time, the Grubmaster is just going to be a god. He's going to kill everybody. And actually, there's a risk here we could have taken, pull both of these at the same time, and we definitely could have done it, and it would be worth saving, you know, some more time. A little riskier though, and you know, we'd be focused firing 2 mobs down, the 2 big mobs, and then AoEing after, and that would have been a little bit of time saved we could have done. I think we fuck up on this next boss too. I think we let him eat one of the ads pretty early, which gives him 50% more damage, which obviously isn't good when it's already tyrannical. So our bloodlust isn't up yet. We decided to just use surrender on this boss and then use our bloodlust on the last boss. So I don't know why, but the DPS on the ads was really bad on this one. As you can see, he gets a damage buff right there whenever he eats the dudes. So we're just trying to make sure we don't take any unnecessary damage here. As you can see, it's pretty fucking hard. You can actually spell reflect that ability. There's actually 2 abilities in that. There's a projectile whenever you toxic wretch or whatever it's called. A projectile and then the pool that follows after, and you can spell reflect the projectile. Warriors are actually pretty good for this fight because for this dungeon, because they can spell reflect the 3rd and the 4th boss, which obviously makes it faster because it actually does quite a bit of damage. The dot and the last boss is Molten Crash. But no, I didn't feel gimped at all versus any of the other tanks. I actually felt kind of overpowered sometimes. We didn't need to use like double battle reses or anything like that. That was kind of a waste there though. We used 2 cooldowns at the same time. I think I was a little panicky because, you know, the boss has the extra damage buff the whole time. Not even actually, I guess it doesn't show it in the video, but ended up using my memento for DPS over, I think I was using the Xavius trinket for damage reduction. But I felt like me doing more damage was more important than me staying alive more often. I actually killed that ad. Maybe I told them to. Generally, after like 30%, we were ignoring the ads and just letting him eat them because, you know, I can stay alive for a little while after they're all dead. Here's our Shadow Priest going Goku mode. So here we have, what, just under 8 minutes. And this is the most time we've ever had coming to this point. So we knew we could do it. It's just like, just be as clean as we can from here. We should be okay. It's kind of how we thought about it. You know, might wait a little bit more to drink or re-food buff or whatever each pull. This pull's kind of sketch because it has the Breaker again, which are the Avalanche guys, and then these Trappers who thread the Jagged Disc at random people. It kind of sucks that the next between this pull, I don't think we ever wiped on this pull or even had any deaths, maybe once. But the next two pulls are pretty difficult even without Fortified because the Scorpions are like bonkers and we're using melee, so you can actually outrange the Scorpions' little AoE spray, but stacking range would definitely be a lot easier. We probably would have brought a hunter to this dungeon, but we didn't have any available. I think here our plan was just go in mind control. We pot on this Scorpion. So he runs in mind controls, and then I try not to move the Scorpion hardly any. Naitashi, our monk, has to stack on us, or stack on me, so he's in range of the heals. And unfortunately these count as 2 mobs, so they give 2 stacks of bolstering to the Trappers when they die. But we can avoid one of these with the mind control. And I haven't looked too much into it, but apparently we're one of the only groups to do a 15 without any battle reses whatsoever. I don't even know if that matters that much, but it seems very common for the groups to be like double druid, you know, like druid tank, druid healer, but I didn't feel gimped on any level, at least for all the dungeons that we had done from Vault of the Wardens, which is definitely one of the easier ones, to like Court of Stars, Eye of Ashara, Neltharion's Lair. I don't know what other high ones we did. Maw of Souls. They all felt fine with Warrior Priest combo for tank and heals. And we know we need less than 4 minutes for the boss, probably around 3:30, 3:45 probably. This last mob here will give us just over 100%. I'm sure we could have, you know, like I said, move a couple of trash pulls around or whatever. Maybe saved a little bit of time that way as well. But if the timer was like that extreme, we would have researched a little bit more about that. Experimented. And this guy's 2 bolstering stacks from that's why it's taking forever, because there's no mind control for that one. So give him a second. Yeah, like exactly 3:45 to kill this guy. So this fight's not too bad, so long as I'm not a retard. Actually, War Stomp there, because I'm using stuff as a secret, just increases my damage with the 50% haste. And you can spell reflect every other Molten Crash. I'm just double checking where the crystal spikes go, just to make sure I don't landslide, have the boss landslide into them. I think I almost die on this one too, it's kind of funny. Later on. So I'm bringing him a little bit closer because he's going to do his bullshit soon. But yeah, normally I don't LOS that, but on 15 you kind of have to. That's quite a bit of damage. Not sure if I stun here. No, I don't. I probably should have, because it did pick Aitashi on the fixate, which means he loses damage. You can see I'm always double checking to make sure I see the spike spawn. I think this one almost kills me. Oh god. Actually at 200k HP. Oh. I don't know if that was probably more my fault because I had some cooldowns up still. Demo Shell. I probably should have used it. So that probably would have been on me. We never wiped on this fight though, so probably wasn't too worried about it in my head. Plus we have a Goku healer. What is our time? We have like a minute, that's plenty of time to kill this. We just LOS. I think people are freaking out at this point. But this was actually harder. I don't know. For us, it felt harder than any of the Mythic Emerald Nightmare stuff we had done. Definitely harder than Xavius, to say the least. And we win. So, just thought I'd go over the entire Dungeones. And that's our Rome First 15 Mythic Blaster thing. Okay, that's enough talking for me for one day, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Fun video games.